Okay, thank you for deciding to watch this video. This is going to be a session 0 of a playthrough for FlexRPG. Um, this is where I'm not really going to go through and troubleshoot the rules. I'm going to just play them as they are currently written. If I find something that needs to be looked at further, I will make a note of that and deal with that offline. Not going to carry over all that development into this series. I want this to just be a series of using the system and getting a character as far as we can get them, whether that is all the way into their legendary status, whatever that may be, or they die early, quickly, and we have to roll another character. We will see. One of the new things is that I'm going to be using a new map. It's one that I've been doodling with for a little bit. It's only going to be part of a world. It's not just a region. It's nothing more than that. It's going to be more than enough, I think, for a lot of adventures to take place in. And we will just go on from there. I, again, am going to be rolling a new character, and that's what this session is going to be all about, is getting that character created, and we will go from there. I do have a name that the character is going to be. It's going to be Lucan Sill. It's one of my normal names that I use in all my character creation. It was my main character in several games, online games that I've played, and I even made him a weaponsmith in one of my favorite systems before now. So, before we get too much farther into things, one thing that I do want to point out is that for this system, you are only going to need d6 dice. If you feel that you need to do anything that requires... Okay, so that does wash out that 5. Anything that requires additional dice work, or say you're using something like UNE or UNE, the Universal NPC Emulator, those have their own dice restrictions or requirements, not really restrictions. By all means, use whatever you have available. I wanted to make FlexRPG something that would be very simple to carry around. Even if you were out of town and needed to purchase some additional dice, you can typically find D6 in dollar stores for like $5 dice for $1. Something cheap. They're not going to be the best rollers, but they'll get you through in a pinch. With that, let us go and jump into doing my character. One thing to remember for character generation is that your stats are, or attributes, stats, whatever you want to call them, they are rolled by 2d6. So it's a little bit of a step away from the traditional 3 dice for your stats and attributes, and then you have a character that is, pretty strong in the system if you get close to the 18s. excuse me, there is chance or opportunities, not chance, there's opportunities to grow your stats through your gameplay. Um, I haven't come up with a max for what you should look for your attributes to be, but in general, I'm starting as a new character. My vision for at least the base stats is that you are going to be starting at the age of becoming an adult, and then you go with your character and grow from there. So to me, starting with only 2d6, well, let alone it's my system, um, I just felt that that made more sense for a story. And that is something that FlexRPG is really going to kind of emphasize on, is that yes, the dice rolls are important when you are making them, but this is really about the story, especially since I'm making this system first and foremost as a solo player RPG. So let's go in, and I know that I'm going to be playing a dwarf. Dwarves get a +2 to physical and a -1 to agility. So as I make my rolls and I go in to edit the character sheet, I need to keep in mind that they get a +2 for physical, a -1. You can't see what the fields are that I'm clicking on. A +2 to physical, a -1 to agility. Mental and social are no modifications. Um, I am doing everything in Obsidian. It's an editor that I really like because it works off of Markdown, or there's another format that you can also use with it, but it uses Markdown, so it gives you a way to edit your page and get things the way you want them to look, as well as give you a non quote unquote coded view. And I can go into this setup a little bit farther if anybody is interested as to how this is set up specifically for the checkboxes here, that kind of stuff. All right, so we're going to roll for his physical, and I got a 5 and a 3. So the first stat physical is 8, but we get a +2, so that's 10. Now for the agility, I got a 4 and a 5, that's 9, minus the 1 for the mod, that's an 8. Now for mental, I'm going to give you at least one reroll. You play this how you want. I cannot play a character that has a mental of 2. Okay, that's a little bit better. 5. That's about common road. 12 divided by 2 is 6 plus 1, 7. 7 is roughly middle of the road in the mental area. So, and then for social, at least he's going to have high social ability, which is completely opposite of me. Okay, now for health and mana, they are based upon, pull this up so that you can see it. Your health points and mana are based upon your physical and mental stats divided by 3 plus a d6. So I'm going to use the red die for health and the green die for mana. And I'll go ahead and roll those, and I've got a 2 and a 6. So let's go back to the character sheet that I've started. Okay, so physical is 10. 10 divided by 3 would be 3. Is that right? I believe that's right, but let me just make sure. And there's nothing wrong with using a calculator. Nobody's going to judge you. Yes, 3 plus 2. So, not the greatest in the realm of stats. He's got a 5. Now, the mana, he did a lot better on with a 6. So we take mental, which is 5. Divide that by 3, which is 1.66. Do I say whether you should be rounding this up? You know, I don't think I ever say that. Everything else is round up. And right here, dividing it by 3. Yep, the value is rounded up. So I should probably add that in there. Anyway. So 1.66, which then goes to 2 plus 6, so it is an 8 for the mana. Okay. Now the next step I need to do is get my pools generated. Now the pools are divided by 2, round up, so this one's going to be 5. This one's a 4. This one is a 3. And this one's a 5. So, not, too great. It would have been nice to have at least a 6 or so in the pool range, but this isn't a terrible start. Mental, again, as you see, the pool is a 3, so he is kind of right in the middle there. The highest pool you can have is a 6. Because that's 2d6, that would be a 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 6 is the highest pool you could get. So again, roughly middle of the road mentally. Nothing wrong with that. Now, I've gone ahead and this is based upon my first character, Latan. This is pretty much his starting gear. I've taken out the money. There's one other thing that I took out, which isn't really that important. So he's gotten a hand axe, traveling clothing, sleeping roll, dagger, rations for 2 weeks of travel, and 2 torches. This is what he'll have, not as he's living in town, but whenever he goes out to adventure. This is what he'll start with. And it's important to make that distinction because he's going to have ready-made meals that aren't going to be prepared for travel. Rations, think your meals ready to eat, freeze-dried food, things that are cured or otherwise prepared for long-term storage. They're not necessarily the best tasting things, but they will make sure that you have the nutrition you need. That's what the rations are. Now, we need to pick a starting place for Lucan. This is a map that I had worked on. Let me go ahead and kill this because I moved my hands down by the camera too much. This is a map that I was playing with for a while, and I've come up with this region. It's not the whole map, but it's a pretty good start. I think that a lot of adventure can be had here. I don't have a scale yet, um, but if we say that it takes 2 days to go from Tha Palwyn, is I don't think you can see that. Yeah, Tha Palwyn. If it takes 2 days to go from here to Wan Will or Gi Dip, um, that gives you a general idea of the scale of how far away everything is. Um, so if it takes 2 days from Tha Pawan to Wan Will, for example, it probably takes 3 to 3.5 days over to Fayab Mao. So I'll get a scale filled out a little bit better um, once after I sit down and have time to look over the map a little bit more. But to pick where I'm going to start, there are 10 city locations on this map. I am going to roll a d10 and then I am going to count from start at the top left, work my way right, then down the page. So Mu Ni to Blau Nerdan, Gi Dip to I Gu, Tha Pawan to Wan Will, that kind of structure. So let's see what we get. And for the d10, we get a 5. Okay. So 1, 2, I know where we're going, 3, 4, and I'm actually going to go here with Wan Will on its own instead of Tha Pawan. So we're going to be in Wan Will. So let's go here, and for starting notes, okay, so we're starting in Wan Will. I'm going to need to come up with a character background. So I will do that as I'm planning out some more background for Lucan in the world. And I think that we're at a good place for a very quick introduction and character creation. We will be moving forward with Lucan, starting out of Wan Will in the next video, and it will be a longer one building up the world and the character through the FlexRPG system. If this went too fast, please let me know. If you felt that for character creation and intro to the basics of character generation were good, please let me know. I do look for constructive criticism back. I don't care if you think that something I've done is terrible, as long as you can explain what makes it terrible. Oh, I think that the color used here, the screen is horrible. Okay, why? Just give me something constructive that I can build off of. That's the only thing I ask if anybody has something that they want to point out. With that, I will take my leave. Thank you to anyone who does watch, and I will see you in the next video.